And that's what is amazing about hospitality in restaurants like this. It's that, people are super excited to go out for dinner most of the times, I guess. And it's an opportunity for us to really meet new people every single day and make friends.
We are continuing our celebrations of 500 episodes of Dirty Linen. Actually, cannot believe it. We are continuing our time at Vue De Monde, a restaurant that's been such a key place for Melbourne milestones since 2000. Today's guest is the General Manager, Hugo Simoes Santos, somebody who's been a fixture at the restaurant for a number of years, and he's going to give us the lowdown from the front of house perspective. Hugo, so delighted to welcome you to Dirty Linen, just as you've welcomed me numerous times to your restaurant.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm really good. Thank you for taking the time to have a chat. Tell us about your role as manager at Vue De Monde.
So again, like you mentioned, I'm the general manager, so I oversee the restaurant and the Louis bar, so just the bar next door. And I've been part of Vue De Monde for almost 9 years now. Well, at least 9 years that I've moved to Australia. So I initially joined the team for just about a year and a half, and then I left. So I went to do an opening in a different restaurant in Melbourne, and then ended up coming back 7 years ago or so again. And that's sort of when I came back as restaurant manager, and then later on moved on to general manager. So a fair amount of years now, but I guess it's a good sign, and pretty happy at Vue De Monde, love it there, and
Well, I think you really exemplify the consistency of personnel that is such a feature of the restaurant, and really quite unusual in hospitality to have such a consistent team over so many years. But Hugo, you know what you're talking about, and I've been to the restaurant. I'm fortunate to have dined with you. But for people who have never been to Vue De Monde, perhaps never even heard of it, aren't familiar with the restaurant, just give us a real 101 on the location, the size, the offering, the style of menu. Let's even talk price.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, so Vue De Monde, it's been open now for nearly 23 years. So Shannon Bennett was the original chef. So he opened Vue De Monde when he was just about 24 years old. So initially opened Vue De Monde in Carlton. He then moved the restaurant to Little Collins Street in 2005. So he was there for another 5 years, and then he moved the restaurant up to the Rialto Tower in 2011. So the restaurant is on level 55 of the Rialto Tower. So it's the last floor of the tower. So it's about about 250 meters high off the floor. And so as you can imagine, and people listening, it's got an amazing view of the city, and so upstairs in the restaurant. So we've got the restaurant, and then we got the Louis bar, which is next door, and then also Vue events, so big space for events. So almost basically three different spaces, and almost like three different venues, I guess. So when Shannon first opened the restaurant, it was sort of really focused on French classics. And then over the years, the concept and the restaurant sort of really evolved and changed a little bit the concept, and especially more since it's been in the Rialto Tower, the menu sort of really focused on seasonality, local produce, Australian native ingredients. So really sort of trying to showcase an Australian experience. I guess it's difficult to say to say what's Australian cuisine. I guess it's not something like you can really compare when you say French cuisine or Italian cuisine, but it's all about I think for us at Vue De Monde is sort of really about the produce and those connections and relationships with some of the best producers in Australia for meat, for fish, or for fishermen and so on, and the amazing cheesemakers that we work with. And again, it's sort of really showcase those produce and work close together with people like that. So.
And what about the menu structure? How does that all work?
Well, so it's a tasting menu. So again, in the past we've had loads of different options for menus. I guess, a la carte menu, and then different options on tasting menus as well, where sort of the guests, they could choose. There was a little bit more choice in terms of, sort of building up the menu for them. The last couple of years, we sort of changed a little bit, and at the moment we have one single menu. So, and the idea is really, really work more on terms of consistency and provide the same sort of experience for everyone. So again, it's a tasting menu, and we serve about 13 different little courses for people. So to try a lot of different things in the menu. Yeah.
And how much is that?
So it's $350 per person at the moment, yeah.
And how customizable is it? Like if I come there and I mention that, I'm really, I'm not allergic to shellfish, but I just don't want to eat it tonight. Like how much can you look after me?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, we can cater pretty much for everything, to be honest, and for everyone. Again, we don't have a visual menu when they get sit down to go through the menu. I mean, it's all sort of, it's really try to create an experience for the guests, but that's something the head waiters, when they approach the table and have that conversation with the guests, explain the concept and explain the menus, and just really try to, speak with the guests and try to understand what they're up to and what they love and what they are interested as well. And again, obviously we have our menu and what we want to serve to the guests, but if we can cater pretty much for anything, any sort of dietary requirement, and then, again, vegetarian menus, vegans, that's all good as well. That's not a problem at all for us. And yeah, we can adapt and change the menus as we go. And that's not an issue at all.
And what do you want it to feel like for your guests? I mean, people book a long way ahead for the most part. It's, often a special occasion. What sort of experience do you aim to deliver?
Well, again, I feel like, there's a lot of people there, a lot of us that have been working there for a long, long time. So we really feel, comfortable working with each other. It's, for us, it's like, it's a nice, we feel almost like a big family. A lot of us, we spend a lot more time in that restaurant than we spend at home with our partners and wives and girlfriends and boyfriends and whatnot. So for us, we want to feel like we are at home, and that's sort of the feeling that we want people to feel when they come to the restaurant. We fully appreciate that. We understand that, most of people that go to this type of restaurants, it's for a very, very special occasion. So even though we are doing that job every single day, and it's very easy for us sort of to take it for granted, but we, it's something that we always constantly have to remind ourselves, is that, it's for the guests that go to the restaurant, it's their first time. They've been possibly saving up for a long time. They're celebrating something very, very special, and obviously, and we want to try to provide that experience to people. So it's sort of really make them feel welcome and comfortable. We, for those who've never been up to the Rialto Tower, to Vue De Monde up there in the restaurant, I feel like sometimes it can be a bit of an overwhelming experience when people show up downstairs, jumping inside of the lift. As you travel up the lift to go up to level 55, even the lift lights change and the color on the lift changes. So it can be a little bit of an overwhelming experience to go up to level 55. So one of the first things we want to try to do is to try to make people feel very comfortable and welcome, and make them understand that, yes, even though it can be an overwhelming experience to go there, we want to make them feel like if they are in our home, and provide them the best experience, give them everything that we can to make them feel comfortable to a point where they can just relax and enjoy the experience.
It's a really fine balance, isn't it, Hugo? Because you want it to be special, and there's a certain grandeur. You don't want it to feel, you want people to feel comfortable, but you also want it to feel special. I mean, what kind of skills as a human do you need to bring to what you do? Yeah,
I mean, again, it's so funny that, because I remember studying hospitality many years ago, and that old saying of when people say that you need to treat all the guests the same way, like everyone deserves the same service, everyone deserves treated the same way. But if you really think about that, it's actually almost the opposite. You almost need to treat every single table actually in a different way, because everyone wants something different. Everyone got different expectations, and everyone comes from a different place. So it's sort of, I think for us, for the waiters and so on, and not just the waiters, for all the chefs working in the kitchen, especially at Vue De Monde, because such an opening concept, it's really try to understand where the guest comes from and how they're feeling and how they, what's their mood on the day, and then sort of for us to adjust to them and provide and try to read the table and try to read the guest and read and adjust to what their needs and what they want and which style of service they want and so on. But for us, I think one of the most important things it's energy and creating that energy and atmosphere in the restaurant. And I really believe that comes a lot from the people working, the waiters in the kitchen. I think when people come up to Vue De Monde, what we want, it's from the moment they open that door downstairs on the ground floor, we sort of put them inside of this bubble and this, and then as they travel up on the lift, we want to make people feel in a different place, and so that they sort of can forget all their problems, all their, everything that happens outside of their life, and leave everything downstairs and come up and really provide a very unique experience. And you can't. For us, it's like if you go to a show, if you go and watch a big show in a stadium, and if you go like 65,000 people in a stadium watching a show, and I compare it to almost to that. It's not just food, it's not just wine. You're not just paying for the meal. It's an experience, and hopefully something that people remember for the rest of their lives. Yeah, that's sort of the idea, and that's what we want to be providing to the guest. Yeah.
What kinds of things can you do for people that create that lifetime memory?
Oh, well, I guess we're very lucky. Obviously, first of all, we're working in an amazing space, and we're working with amazing materials and things. We've got a lot of options to provide those experiences to the guests. But something that people really love when they come up to the Vue De Monde, when they're having the meal, sort of doing kitchen tours, meeting the chefs in the kitchen, taking pictures with the chefs. We're lucky that we have a couple of private balconies up on level 55. A special one in the event space, which sometimes if there's no events, we can really use for the restaurant. And it's a very private space, it's a very unique space, and sort of have that opportunity to use that space for the restaurant. So the guests, they would come for dinner, and then throughout dinner, possibly take them on a tour, take them outside to that space, provide serve one of the dishes there, possibly, let them enjoy a course outside. Again, it's something very unique, very different that, not a lot of restaurants are able to do that. That's a space that, for example, we use, almost on a weekly basis, for example, for proposals, like that happens a lot of times at Vue De Monde where, obviously people want to propose, and if we can, we use a lot of that space to do that thing. So just, create, good memories for people. But throughout the service, there's a lot of different things we can do, little things. And it's just really sort of paying attention to the guests are saying, listening to what they want. And, they don't really have to ask you for anything, but if you're paying attention to what's happening on the table and sort of create an experience around that, even if it's just, even though there is a tasting menu and we serve all the menu, but if you're really paying attention, if you feel like the guests really enjoy this little snack or enjoy that, and then again, it's just sort of being generous. It's all about generosity for us, and just, if we know that they really love that oyster, okay, well, they don't have to ask you for another oyster. We can just organize another oyster and serve it straight away because they love it so much. So we just organize another oyster. Or if they love the butter, for example, that we serve, we sort of, a lot of times we just pack them a little butter and then give them on the way out. And it's like, well, there we go. They enjoy a little bit of our butter, take it home and enjoy the next couple of days if you wish, or, this type of little things. But again, that just comes from paying attention, listening to what the guests are saying, and taking the next step is sort of, using the information the guests are giving you, not just ignoring it, listening, and then really do something with it, and create something special for the guests, I guess.
It sounds like a really interesting puzzle that you are confronted with every day, this opportunity to make people's time on this earth a little sweeter and more joyful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, like, we like to say that any happens more often than maybe possibly people would think, but and it's always very special for us, when you do something for the table and you see, a person on the table crying at the table in the restaurant because of something you've done for them. It's like, okay, well, I think we've done our job in this table, like it's, you created an experience, and you know that those people, they're going to remember that dinner or that lunch for the rest of their lives because of something, and again, sometimes it's something so simple. Again, it can be, in sometimes these things has got nothing related to really to food or to wine, but it's just, yeah. I mean, an example, for example, if you got this guest dining with you, but you've learned something about them, or they come from a particular space, or something like that, and then they come for dinner, and then, for example, if you are able to take them to that balcony that I just mentioned before, and if I know where they're from, if I know which type of music they like, and if I can play a particular song for them on that space, which they were not expecting, that can just cause, it can happen something on a person and just create that experience for someone. And again, it's got nothing to do with food and wine, but the fact that you play that song for them at that particular moment where it brings them certain memories or thinking like this, you sort of, you understand what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's really quite profound. It's like a really, meaningful, perhaps you never know what kind of change you can make in someone's life.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's where the professionalism comes from. And, what we tell the guys all the time. And it's everyone works there for a reason, all the waiters and all the chefs. And we want people that work there that they want to be doing these things for the guests. It's not just serving food, it's not just serving wine, it's not just setting up the table and putting plates down and clearing and moving on. It's really thinking sort of to the next level, because otherwise there's no point in working in there. You can just work in so for me, it's that's the thing when people talk about fine dining restaurants and this and that. That's all very relative. I can go and work in a little cafe around the corner and provide you a fine dining experience. The way I serve things, the way I'll explain it, the way I'll, all of that. But it's so much more profound than that for us. I think what I really like to think it's hospitality, and it's providing hospitality, being generous and looking after people with love and care, and being, and in generally just being nice as a waiter or the chef, and looking after people with love and giving our best every single day. That's just what we try to do.
Hugo, how did you get into this work?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm 32 years old now, but I've been working in restaurants since I was 12 years old. So my brother Carlos, which actually works in a restaurant as well. So he's 3 years older than me. So he started working first in this little restaurant where we're from in Portugal, in the summer, and yeah, so I joined the team there as well, at a pretty young age. And that was sort of the first restaurant where I started working with him as well. And it's really funny because we've been working together for many, many years, and we worked pretty much in every single restaurant that he worked. I also worked together, and we sort of just follow each other, in a few different places around the world. And yeah, I mean, it started like as a summer job, and then you sort of fell into love into it, and ended up studying hospitality for a few years. And that's it. You get into it, you fell in love, and I guess it's difficult to get away from it. Yeah.
I know that you worked at Dinner by Heston in London, and that you also came across with the team to open dinner in Melbourne. I mean, what point in your career was it that it all clicked for you about, this profound impact you can have on people from working in hospitality?
Yeah, I mean, again, those first little restaurants that I worked in my hometown before I went to hospitality, it's really funny because I look at them as I actually learned so much in some of those little places. But and then I guess studying hospitality, really taking it to the next level and learning, classic ways and learning everything that you, I guess, that you can do to provide a nice experience to the guest. But I think probably in London, when I first moved to London and when I started working at Gordon Ramsay in Hospital Road, so the 3 Michelin star restaurant, and just really see, people's face and happiness and, when you see someone trying a particular dish and you can just see someone's expression and that, like that's something very, very unique and very, very special. People travel around the world just to go and eat in certain places and just to try one particular dish. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just, very special. And yeah.
Hugo, what about the culture in hospitality, over your couple of decades working in it? There's been so much conversation in recent times about, work-life balance, about hours, about expectations, and about pay. What have you seen happen during your career, and where do you think it still needs to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very, very, very interesting, and it's definitely I guess, a hot topic. And I guess, when I was younger and I started working, and especially when I moved to London, I mean, yeah, it was hard. It was a bit of a shock for me, to be honest. Like, I guess, I was working in Portugal and I worked in a lot of different places in Portugal. But when I moved to London, and especially working at Gordon Ramsay and Dinner by Aston in London as well, like, yeah, it was tough. I mean, for a young person, trying to start a new career and learn and push, like, you have to work a lot of hours. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, culturally wise, I think that really depends as well where you're working. Again, for example, for me, when I was working at Gordon Ramsay, as you can imagine, Gordon Ramsay is a very, very different person than Aston Blumenthal. Both of them achieved greatness. Both of them got 3 Michelin star restaurants. But culturally wise, working for those two companies, very, very different. So you sort of have to, I guess, adapt and adapt to the places. But I think it came a long way, to be honest. And I feel like I've when I started my career, obviously you're trying to work hard and push so you can get promoted and move up and get better positions, and obviously better salary and better lifestyle and just keep pushing in your career. For me was back in the days, yes, of course, I probably worked hundreds and hundreds of hours, which I probably wasn't paid for it, to be honest. And obviously all of that, really changed the last couple of years. It sort of really, really changed, which I guess, it's a positive thing for everyone. It just, at some point, those type of conversation needed to start happening and changing. But we just, I guess, in a different space. For me, it's sort of, I'm in the middle of it, isn't it? Like I was, when I was younger, I was in that position and I was pushing on and working to get to a management position. And then sort of when I really, when I finally got there, and now things completely changed. So we had to adjust and change everything, just the way you interact with people and, bringing new team members into the team. And because, things changed a lot in the last few years. For better, I guess,
Yeah, I mean, Vue De Monde's now running 4 days a week, where it used to be every day. There's fewer services. The team, I guess, is smaller and I guess more cohesive in some ways. But do you feel that, the people that you're training, the team that you're building, can they reach the same standards that you reached at the same age?
Yeah, they can. And again, I think it's just different. I think people's go, I mean, it's very important that I think it's like, I can't expect the same thing either as well, to be honest. It's like, nowadays, if I would do, the way I see it is like the things which, for example, were done to me, or the things that I maybe passed through, 10, 15 years ago in hospitality, if I'll do those certain things now, I would just have no one to work for me. There'll be no one. There will be no staff members to work there. So you have to adjust and change and adapt, and just create a different experience for staff members, so that you still get the same experience in the end, in terms of providing a service to the guests. So it's just, you just have to be conscious of with who you're working nowadays and which type of people you're getting, and adjust accordingly, so that so that at the end of the day you sort of still provide the same experience to the guests and everyone. But yeah, I mean, the way I see it, it's staff members. It's trying to look after as much as you can the staff members, so that they, in the end of the day, they come to work and they're happy to be there, and so they can provide a good experience to the guests. So
yeah, it's really interesting. I think as a diner, you can. There might be a sort of technical brilliance about service when people are pushed really hard and they're doing so many hours. Like maybe every crumb is scraped from the table perfectly, and they can explain something. Like you could ask any question about any dish and they'd be able to answer it perfectly. But I think it must be the spirit must be different. And I think that you couldn't help but have some resentment towards, the people that were employing you, but also the people that you were looking after when you were under so much pressure yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's only as much as it gets to a point where you just stop being productive, I think, as well. Like you can't be productive the same way if you're working 80 or 85 hours a week than if you work even 50 hours a week. And 50 hours a week, again, that's already a fair amount of hours over 38 hours, which is sort of the normal hours for people to work in the world, I guess, isn't it? But so yeah, but in terms of productivity and providing, and even just terms of happiness, if you're nice and fresh and energetic and ready to go, your sense of humor is different, and you're happy to be there, and you're motivated and you're excited. Again, it provides a completely different experience. If you are tired and exhausted and you didn't sleep properly because you couldn't sleep properly and so on, again, certainly you're not going to be there in the same mood and provide the same experience to the guest. And the guest can feel that, obviously. If the guests walk through the restaurant and everyone is looking down and no one is smiling, no one is greeting you and saying hello and saying welcome, and there's no energy and there's no the vibe in the restaurant, it's different, obviously. So, and the guests, they can feel that. So that's something that we it's very important to us, and so just really try to maintain that sort of level of energy so the guests, they feel welcome and they feel like they are in a special place. Yeah.
Hugo, it's something we've spoken a lot about on this podcast over 500 episodes is the respect that's given to front of house generally, and the difficulty in getting people to treat it as a profession, both from the employee side but also from the diner side. Just this culture that's quite different perhaps to how some people say it is in Europe. Where do you think front of house is placed in Australia at the moment?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. I think it's okay. I think when people are presented with a very special service, and when you do everything you can to provide an amazing experience to the guests, they really appreciate it. So they value that, and we see that every single day. I see, guest feedback on a daily basis where, from all different types of waiters we have in a restaurant. And I'm not talking about just, a particularly one or two waiters. It's sort of through the board with everyone. It's so I think, I think people appreciate it, I guess. And I mean, in Europe, probably people make more a career out of it. You go and study hospitality and, to become a professional, to become a waiter. Maybe in Australia, I think as a chef, it's different. If you really want to become a chef, you really, that's your job, that's your passion, that's what you're going to study, and then you become a chef. And it's, maybe there's more it's, maybe possible people take a little bit more serious. I think front of house, it's sort of like maybe still people think that anyone possibly can do it. It's sort of maybe more of a job that, you sort of can go and do it in school holidays, or you can just go and do it just because of extra money and extra cash and this and that. But it's very interesting to see people in front of house with, amazing degrees, and they study something completely different and incredibly intelligent, and and then they sort of ended up working in hospitality, because they fell in love and they loved the service and looking after people and things like that. But it's it happens very, very often where you see front of house people very intelligent, that they study so many different things, and then you question yourself, like, it's like you study all of that, and like, well, how you ended up on this life, and it's got to do with the love of service and looking after people and meeting new people every day, and providing, amazing experience to people. I think people fell in love with it, I guess. Yeah.
Well, in terms of direct impact and immediate feedback, I think looking after somebody in a restaurant, it's hard to beat it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like you know if you're providing you can see the tables, you can see the guests' reactions and how they're feeling. So it's if you're doing a good job, or if the guest is not particularly happy about something. So and you want that, obviously. You want to have that feeling every single day, and that's what is amazing about hospitality and restaurants like this. It's that people are super excited to go out for dinner most of the times, I guess. And it's an opportunity for us to really meet new people every single day and make friends. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many friends and how many people, incredibly nice people I've met in restaurants over the years, and that people actually became my friends, and we so many stories we can share about restaurants and so on. So yeah.
Hugo, if you look forward 5-10 years, I mean, do you have an ambition for yourself? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Dani, to be honest. Like, I don't like. It's difficult to think that ahead, to be honest. For many, many years, I thought I would open a restaurant one day with my brother, and possibly we thought that we would go back to Portugal and open a restaurant. Not sure if that would happen. I realized that opening your business nowadays, it's challenging, and it's probably getting more and more difficult, I guess. But I'll probably just I'll just keep pushing and keep working. I think as much as I love this life and love the restaurants and love service and so on, I think it gets to a point as well where you sort of have to make a decision of what you want for your life and sort of the lifestyle you want to live. And as much as I love obviously going to bed every day at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning after service, it's not that's only for many years you want to do that as well, to be honest. So all different things to consider, but I think forever I will be connected to some sort of hospitality, and I'd have possibly this dream of one day opening a little something back home in Portugal, a little bed and breakfast or something like that, and just sort of looking after guests in a different way. But yeah, again, I guess I think hospitality is probably what I will be for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Beautiful, Hugo. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's great to get this really rich insight into Vue De Monde through your eyes and through the, I think, really important work that you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Again, congratulations on the 500 podcast, and have a lovely day, and I guess I'll see you soon.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you so much.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.